Hello, candle lovers. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Greg, and this is all about candles. Happy Saturday, everyone. Every Saturday, I like to do a candle haul on my channel, and I have got a bunch of Yankee candles to share with you folks today. Gonna let you know right off the top that none of these are any of the sort of new collections from Yankee that you're seeing in the States right now. So what's been happening is Yankee Candle used to be available in Canada, where I am. You used to be able to get them all over the place. Grocery stores, department stores, candle stores, all that kind of stuff. And then they really pulled out of the Canadian market. And now they are back in the Canadian market, but in a very, very limited capacity. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that at the end of this video for any of my Canadian viewers that may be interested in that information. But I wanna get into the haul first and foremost. The format that I like most from Yankee are their large, tumbler, 2-wick candles. These burn for 60 hours. It's a 2-wick there, nice colored wax. That's the format that I like the most. I got most of these candles, all these tumblers I got from Walmart, and I also have a couple selections in different formats that I found off of Amazon. I picked up one of these older signature jar Lakefront Lodges from Amazon because I hear this fragrance has been discontinued and it's one of my favorites. But I wanted to start off by talking about Pink Sands, because Pink Sands is a candle that's really popular this time of year. And I know that in the States, Yankee released a Pink Sands Glow fragrance based off of this one. I really like the original Pink Sands, and I always love the colored wax that they have on this candle. And I got this one at Walmart for, it's $29.99 or $30. And it doesn't look like we're even gonna be getting their updated designs up here in Canada for a little while. What I'm seeing everywhere are these candles that my pal Sarita from Coffee and Candles refers to these as the trash can clip art candles. And I have to say as well that every time Yankee Candle redesigns their formats, they just get worse and worse and worse. I remember when these sort of these signature jars came out, I remember being pretty not into them. And then I ended up really, really liking them because they got discontinued and, turned into the trash can clip art tumblers. And I couldn't stand these at first, but now I've gotten used to them. They're okay. Well, now they've changed the way their candles look again, and they're looking like this. These labels with the off-center label within a label. I mean, it just gets worse and worse and worse. Every time that they try to make a change, they just end up looking worse than they did before. It's really, at this point, it's really just kind of funny. I do hear that there's a lot happening at Yankee Candle right now. It's always hard to tell how much you hear are rumors and gossip and whatnot. But apparently they're moving towards a different wax blend now, and they're supposedly increasing the amount of fragrance oils that they put into their candles in these sort of newly designed ones. But whatever. What we're getting up here in Canada right now are these big 2-wick tumblers. Got this one at Walmart for about 30 bucks. And also it was just, it was Amazon Prime. And Yankee does sell a lot of their candles on Amazon up here in Canada, but the ones that you see the most are these big, single wick, old school apothecary jars. And these are usually on Amazon Canada for a ridiculous amount of money, 35, 36 bucks or something. But they had a big sale on these single wicks for Amazon Prime. And so I got this one for $14.99. And I figured, why not? Look at the difference in the color of the pink wax on these two formats. I think that's kind of interesting. These 2 wicks are 20 ounces, and this single wick Apothecary is 22 ounces. And I really like the Pink Sands fragrance. This is just about as sweet and as fruity as I like to get when it comes to home fragrance, but this is just a classic from Yankee that I've enjoyed many, many times over the years. And so let's talk about the scent notes, because one of the things I love about Yankee Candle are the insane, like, they give us top, middle, and base notes and big scent stories. It's one of my favorite things to get into. And so the little scent story that they have for Pink Beach says, this is a floral fragrance. Pink Sands is the exotic island escape you've always dreamed of. Juicy melon scents are softened by gentle aromas, giving you space to relax and clear your mind. Warm base notes enriched by a touch of jasmine complete the sense of paradise. Okie. So the top notes are citrus and melon. The middle note is berry. And the base notes are spicy vanilla, musk, and woody notes. I mean, these scent notes. So I definitely think that we've got some citrus, we've got melon, we've got berry. But these base notes, you know, spicy vanilla, musk, and woody notes, I really don't pick up on that. This is just a very nice, sort of light, fruity, and pink smelling candle. I think that it's a nice fragrance. It's very top heavy, you know? I think it would be nice if we had like some spicy vanilla and woodsiness in the base of this candle to balance it out, but I'm not really picking up on all of that. However, I do like something about this fragrance, and I always have. It's sweet without being sort of like that granulated, sugary, like saccharine, you know? It doesn't smell extremely artificial, even though it is kind of like that sort of generic, like pink berry smell. You know what I mean? I think it's nice. It's a really nice, light, and bright fragrance for the summertime. And I've got to say that I think that the fragrance itself smells exactly the same, but this single wick tumbler smells like it has very little fragrance in it. And I mean, we haven't been getting very much strength and throw out of these big single wick Apothecary jars for a really long time now. But what my plan is, and I've done this with Yankee candles before, my plan is to be burning these, you know, in my bigger, more open space, burn both of these at the same time so that hopefully maybe together I'm sort of getting like a 7. That would be great. If I could be burning both of these together in like my living area and getting them to about a 7 for strength and throw when they're together. That's kind of the goal here. I haven't had a chance to smell the flanker yet, the Pink Beach Glow candle, but I'd be really interested in checking that one out too. I also picked up this Ocean Air candle. And I think that this one looks nice. I mean, I think that when it comes to presentation, the thing that Yankee Candle does the best is their colored wax, you know? And as far as the sort of randomly placed clip art goes, I think that on this one, it's okay. You know, this is one of the ones that looks a little bit more nicely done and centered. And I had actually never smelled this candle before. I picked this one up at Walmart. It's a first for me. These tumblers are all 20 ounces. Yeah, this is very, very typical of the type of fragrance that I enjoy, especially in the summertime. The scent story for Ocean Air, it says, this is a fresh and clean fragrance. The refreshing feeling of breathing in a sparkling sea breeze. Blue ozone notes mingle with white lily and cotton flower, while base notes of sheer musk and cedar wood add a finishing touch. The top notes on here are Blue Ozone, Linen Breeze, Bergamot, and Lemon. The middle notes are Wild Orchid, Hibiscus, Strawberry Nectar, Midnight Jasmine, and Banana Flower. And the base notes are Fruity Musk, Sandalwood, and White Amber. I mean, how extra are those scent notes? They actually seemed like they had really edited down the scent notes on this pink beach candle. But now we're back to ocean air, and we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 scent notes packed into ocean air. I'll tell you the ones that I pick up on. I do pick up on sort of a linen-y cotton vibe. That's definitely in there. You know, as far as Blue Ocean goes, I wouldn't say that this is particularly like briny or salty or ozonic. It's got a little bit more of like a sweeter quality to it. Yeah, something a little bit citrusy on top. It says bergamot, lemon. And then there's definitely some floral happening in like the middle notes of this fragrance. And I'd say that out of all of these, it smells most to me like perhaps orchid and jasmine. Yeah, kind of like a soft and slightly sweet, like white floral. I'm really not picking up on like a strawberry in this candle at all. Base notes say fruity musk, sandalwood, and white amber. There's definitely some amber in the base. Can't say I'm picking up on any sort of woodsiness. A little bit of musk, a little bit of amber. Yeah, so if I were to edit down these scent notes, I would just say Linen Breeze, Lemon, Wild Orchid, Jasmine, Musk, and Amber. And it is sort of a bright, sweet kind of amber note. I like this one a lot. I really do. It's kind of like a mixture of like a laundry, linen, backyard fragrance, you know, mixed with something a little bit sweet and floral as well. I think this one's really nice. This one also smells reasonably strong on cold. So here's to hoping that it actually performs a little bit. And I also picked up this dried lavender and oak. And this is a fragrance that has been around Yankee Candle for a while, but another one that I had never tried before, dried lavender and oak. Now, this is some really super randomly looking placed clip art all over this jar here. I think this one's nice. I think this one, it's a little bit interesting. It's a little bit perfumey. There's almost something a little bit like funky in the woodsy note of this fragrance. The scent story says, this is a woody fragrance at an outdoor farmer's market. The scents of hand-tied bunches of lavender combine with woodsy notes and spices. Enriching the scene are top notes of peppercorn and a base of cedarwood and vanilla. Peppercorn, I'm definitely picking up on the peppercorn in this candle. Yeah, definitely a woodsy fragrance. I love how they're setting the scene like you're at an outdoor farmer's market. The top notes are white peppercorn, lavender, bergamot. The middle notes are white flowers and moss. That would explain the sort of funkiness in here. The base notes are vanilla, patchouli, and cedarwood. I think that these scent notes are actually pretty close to what we're getting here. Can't really say I'm picking up on the bergamot. Definitely the peppercorn and the lavender and the moss and the patchouli and the cedarwood. That's what I'm getting most of all. It is like almost a little bit of a spicy peppercorn note on top, as well as that sort of patchouli happening in the base of the fragrance. And there is a little bit of an interesting kind of funkiness in there. This is definitely more of like a woodsy fragrance than it is a floral fragrance. I really like this one, actually. I'm surprised I've never given it a try before, because dried lavender and oak, that sounds right up my alley. Yeah, this one's interesting. I'd have to say that right off the bat, this is the kind of candle that strikes me as something that would probably be a bit of an acquired taste. But my like favorite types of candles are candles that are a little bit weird, but also pleasant. And I think you could definitely say that that's what this dried lavender and oak sort of comes across as for me. Kind of odd but pleasant. I like that. Smells pretty strong too on cold, so hoping that one performs all right. Whenever I'm buying Yankee candles and smelling them for the first time, I'm always just like, please let this have more strength and throw than a 5. And I do have to say that I think that they've been getting a little bit better. I'm gonna have some reviews coming up pretty soon for Fresh Lilac Blossoms from Yankee, which performed fabulously. Like really, really good strength and throw. Probably got up to like a 7. And I'm also burning a Coconut Beach right now, and that is just a complete dud. I'm talking like 0 strength and throw, like maybe a 3, like so disappointing. Anyways, moving on, this is Seaside Woods. I think this one looks all right, clip art wise, beautifully colored wax on this. And this candle, I actually saw Sarita from Coffee and Candles talking about this candle on her channel, and she said that she absolutely loved the fragrance, but that her candle didn't really have great strength and throw. If my memory serves me correctly, she was burning like a smaller version. I think she tends to prefer like the medium-sized jars from Yankee, and you know, she just spoke so highly of the fragrance. I just needed to smell it, and I love the way that this one smells. It smells fantastic, and it smells fairly strong too, so I'll be really interested to see if I get any strength and throw out of it, because I know that Sarita was pretty disappointed. The little scent story for Seaside Woods says, "This is a woody fragrance. Experience a cozy, secluded coastal escape. Warm scents of sun-dried driftwood and soft orange blossoms are met with hints of citrus, evoking the quietude of a balmy shoreline." The top notes are orange blossom and cool citrus. The middle notes are sweet acacia, and the base notes are cottonwood and driftwood. So once again, they've kind of reined in the scent notes a little bit for this candle. Instead of giving us 12, they just gave us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, and these are all things that I like. Orange blossoms, cottonwood, driftwood, acacia. This is so nice. And this is another one that falls into that category, at least for me, of being a little bit odd, but pleasant. You know what I mean? Oh, my necklaces are like choking me out here. It's like, it's much more of like a middle to lower ranging fragrance, especially compared to all of the other ones that I'm sniffing here. This is a standout for sure. And I do pick up on the orange blossom in the top of this. It's not like a really like, it's not like a really sweet and floral orange blossom though. And there's not a ton of that in there either. I think that primarily what I'm getting is that sort of woodsy, like the cottonwood and the drift woodsy sort of note. A little bit salty, a little bit briny, a little bit woodsy, and also a little bit sweet. Really nicely balanced. A little bit of a soft sweetness on top and a nice, like really robust, like woodsiness in the base. This is really interesting. And there's also something in this fragrance to me that comes across as a little bit peppery as well. Yeah. Oh, I mean, Sarita has absolutely fantastic taste. You know, she's got a great nose and, you know, really high standards when it comes to the fragrances that she likes. And so when she talks about candles and fragrances that she's really into, it just rubs off on me in such a profound way that I have to try the fragrance as well. And I always end up liking the fragrances that she recommends. Like, I really, really trust her. And This smells fantastic. And it also smells like it could be strong. So I'm hoping that this might be a slightly different batch or formula than Sarita got and might give me some strength and throw. Because it really doesn't smell like it's gonna be a dud. It smells good. Yeah, Seaside Woods. I think that I'm most interested in getting this one fired up for sure. And I also picked up this Cliffside Sunrise. And this is one of the ones when I was in the Walmart, I kept picking it up, smelling it, putting it back down, picking it back up. I'm not a huge fan of fruity fragrances, but summer is the one time where, especially when it's super hot, I do find bright, sweet, fruity fragrances really refreshing when it's like dead in the heat of summer. You know what I mean? And so it's the one time that I'll try fragrances like this. And I think that this this jar looks okay. Once again, I think it's one of the ones where they sort of reined in the clip art and managed to give it sort of somewhat of a like cohesive motif here. Like it's not the worst. And I'm almost wondering if this is, it reminds me a little bit of Capri Blue Volcano. I don't think it's so similar that it might necessarily be trying to dupe Capri Blue Volcano, but it's got a very similar vibe to that, you know? There's also, you know, Volcanic Sunrise from Goose Creek and Midnight Blue Citrus from Bath & Body Works. This smells very much like in the vein of those types of fragrances. The scent story on it says, "This is a fruity fragrance. An early morning hike brings you to an idyllic seaside scene with the sun's first light. Exotic fruit and flower scents are carried along in the warm breeze, accompanied by notes of strawberry, geranium, and hibiscus." And so the top notes are hibiscus, strawberry, and citrus. The middle notes are nectarine, red fruit, and geranium. And the base notes are sparkling wine, nectar, and praline. And this is a very, very sweet, like top heavy, fruity floral. I'd say it definitely leans more towards the fruity than it does the floral. And what I pick up on the most is the strawberry, the citrus, and the nectarine. Absolutely, like lots and lots, particularly the nectarine actually, which is what I think kind of got me interested in this fragrance, even though it is so fruity. Nectarine is something that is a little bit more unique and interesting for me. And yeah, it's a nice, interesting fruity note. One of the scent notes is red fruit, and you're definitely picking up on a bit of that too. Sort of that vague, like red berry, red fruit sort of type of chord. When it comes to the floral side of things, I think I'm getting the geranium more than anything else. Although geranium can sometimes have a bit of a stern quality about it, whereas this is fairly like light and uplifting and soft. There definitely is a little bit of a sparkling, like effervescence to this as well, but without it being like too sort of bubbly and bright for me to be able to handle. And in the base, there is a really sort of smooth sweetness. I'm not sure I would necessarily pick out praline specifically, but there is sort of like a smooth, deep sweetness in the base of this. And considering it's such a bright, like fruity forward floral, I think that it's fairly nicely balanced. This will be a first timer for me. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to get into that one. And then I saw my beloved Lakefront Lodge on Amazon a week or two ago and in the signature jars, and I had to get one because apparently this fragrance is discontinued now, and it is one of my favorite fragrances from Yankee Candle. I can't believe that they're getting rid of it. And this is always a good performer too. I think I've burned like 2 or 3 Lakefront Lodges in this sort of signature jar format. I'd say it gets up to like a 7 for strength and throw. It's not bad at all, but I had to pay like $40 or something for this one on Amazon. I don't know, like, I don't even know who I'm buying from sometimes when I'm buying the Yankee candles on Amazon. It's just very odd and confusing. The scent story for this, it just says, a brisk and cool night overlooking the evergreens as the moon reflects off the lake. And the top notes are aldehydes, ozone accord, and mandarin. The middle notes are fir balsam, pine needle, and cedar wood. And the base notes are tonka, cedar wood, and labdanum. And these are a few of my favorite things. Like, there's a very briny, aldehydic, ozonic, like bright, sort of almost pretty salty note on top of this fragrance that really packs a bit of a punch, you know? And once again, I can almost kind of understand this fragrance getting discontinued, because this is one that I would also say would definitely be an acquired taste. You know, it's one of those fragrances that, once again, I would sort of classify as weird but pleasant, right? There's definitely like a funkiness to this and a little bit of, I don't want to say a spiciness, more like maybe like a saltiness. Yeah, and also something a little bit sweet on top and citrusy, I guess, yeah, the mandarin. And then it's very like almost balsamy, like the fir needles and the pine note in here is quite pronounced in like the base, the heart of the fragrance. In the base, I do pick up on sort of like a smooth, rich woodiness, that tonka, that cedar. I just love fragrances like that. I've always thought that this is a really interesting, well-balanced fragrance. I love this one, and this might be my last Lakefront Lodge ever. Oh, I don't even know if I'm gonna burn this summer. I think I might need to like hang on to it for a year and get around to burning it next summer. I just love this. It's so interesting. It's woodsy, it's strong, it's briny, it's aquatic. Oh, I just love like woodsy aquatic fragrances. I think Lakefront Lodge is great. And that's one that I can say, you know, at least in that format, has performed pretty well for me throughout the years. Anyway, so that's all that I picked up in terms of candles to share with you folks today. For my Canadian viewers, and I know there's quite a few of you, I just wanted to talk real quickly about the way that this new rollout has been going in Canada. So at the end of last year, at the end of 2024, Yankee announced that they were going back into the Canadian market. Throughout the 90s and the early 2000s, you could get Yankee candles in a lot of places in Canada. Department stores, grocery stores, candle stores. You know, they were all over the place. In fact, the way that I first fell in love with candles was when I was a kid. One of my friend's mothers would always have like a big old school apothecary Yankee candle going in the house. And I even remember a lot of the time it would be like the blueberry one or kitchen spice. Maybe the sage and citrus candle, you know, like I have a real strong memory of that. And so Yankee Candle was actually the first brand that I kind of started buying on a regular basis and whatnot. And then things happened, the company got bought and then bought again and whatever. I never really kept that close a track of it for a long time, because at a certain point then it was high school, university. I didn't really burn many candles for a fairly long period of time, and Yankee just completely like disappeared from the Canadian market. Except for, oddly enough, we do have one Yankee candle store in Oshawa, Ontario that has remained open through all of this. Like, we haven't been able to buy off of the online Yankee Candle store, but if you happen to be in Oshawa, Ontario, you can still walk in to a brick and mortar and get all the Yankee candles that your heart desires. It's been very strange the way that all of this has sort of like happened throughout the years. Anyway, so fast forward to like winter 2024. Yankee announces that they're going back into the Canadian market. They put a couple, social media clips up that are sort of aimed at the Canadians, and, a press release, which I read, and they did say that it was going to be sort of a staged and sort of staggered release, like slowly going into more stores and locations. And so what they started doing was the oddest store choices. So they started putting their one wick pillars, like those tall, they look kind of like these ones, except there's just one wick. They started putting those pillars into some really odd store choices. So one of them was Staples, which is an office supply store. You know, like I'm talking like really like just office supplies for the most part, like printers, technology, pens, post-it notes. I don't think there are Staples in the States, so just trying to explain to people who might not know. Staples is very much like just an office supplies store. But yeah, I went in there, you know, in the wintertime and saw that they had these pillar candles and they were selling them for something pretty ridiculous, like $23 or $24, and we had 4 selections. All right, so they were also putting them out at Save on Food stores for really high prices. Once again, just the one wick pillars. And Save on Foods is like a discount grocery store, and London Drugs. And London Drugs is like a pharmacy. I mean, they do have lots of other stuff in there as well, but for the most part, London Drugs is a pharmacy. And so for like the last quarter of 2024, you could get Yankee one wick pillars at Staples, Save on Foods, and London Drugs. And they had 4 choices: Christmas cookies, citrus and sage, balsam and cedar, and then another one, I think maybe it was holiday zest. So those were the only 4 options in just one format, these pillars, but with one wick for like over $20. And I'm just like, well, this is not gonna go well. You know, like they are not putting the right format of the candle in the right types of stores at the right price points, you know? And I would go into those stores and sort of check things out, and it did not look like they were being moved really at all. And I was like, this might be the shortest expansion into the Canadian market that we see. Like, I just don't think that this is gonna last, you know? And at Save on Foods, for example, I'm like, you know, I go into some Save on Foods. They've got great grocery prices, but I'm not sure that Save on Foods is the place where, you know, you want to be charging people almost like $25-30 for like one wick pillar candles. And I don't think a lot of people are going into Staples either for their office supplies and, you know, making the impulse purchase of like a $25 one wick Christmas cookie candle. So I'm just thinking to myself, man, this is like over before it's even begun, you know? And they're not letting us shop off the store. And I think that's what they really need to do. What Yankee Candle needs to be doing if they want to be, you know, reaching out into the Canadian market, let us purchase off of the website. Like, I'm sure that the shipping and handling costs must be like, they must not be able to figure out how to work it out for whatever reason. And I don't know why, but it feels like to me that that would be the first logical step. You know, if you're branching out into the Canadian market, for me, the first logical step would be get the Canadian online store happening so that everyone can just get on there and buy exactly what it is that they want. And then blitz the social media with Yankee Candle back online, now in Canada. I feel like that could have made some waves. But here we are into like the third quarter of 2025, still no online Yankee Candle store for us. However, a couple of months ago, they announced that they were going into all the Canadian Walmarts. And so I was like, okay, this makes a lot more sense. This makes a lot more sense. I'm still not certain that Canadian consumers that are doing all their shopping at Walmart, I'm still not certain that they're interested in buying candles at this price point. But I think this might be the best shot that they have for getting some traction in the brick and mortar stores. So So I went in to check out a Walmart, and I hadn't been into a Walmart probably for like 4 or 5 years. I'll put up a clip of a little video that I took. I was reasonably impressed. I went into the Walmart, checked out the candle section. Now, what I'm not thrilled about are the formats that they're offering, but I'm glad that they're giving us these 2-wick candles. So the 2 formats that they had were those little studio single wick candles for like 16 or 17 bucks. And then these larger, like 20-ounce pillar 2-wick candles. And those are selling for $30. Now, I still think that this is a pretty high price point, even when we're talking Canadian dollars. However, at Walmart, at least there's a good chance that these are gonna be put on a decent sale once in a while. And they also had more than just 4 fragrance options, right? They're still not offering us any of the new fragrances or collections that are coming out. And they're not even, they weren't even stocked with the new, the new labels and the new looking format of the 2-wick pillars. It's still the old like trash can clip art format, but they had quite a few. They had at least a dozen different fragrances in a single wick or a 2-wick. The studio candles, 16, 17 bucks. The big 2 wicks, $29, $30. I felt like this might be a step in the right direction. I was impressed with the selection that they had at Walmart. I managed to pick up 5 candles that I was reasonably interested in and took them home with me. So, I feel like that was a positive step for sure for Yankee Candle. But I still think that they need to get their act together and start letting us shop from the online store somehow, even if they have to get a little warehouse or a little shipping station set up here in Canada. For me, that just seems like the most obvious way to be able to get out into the market. But Walmart was a good step. My hope is that we're gonna have online shopping happening pretty soon. They do have a bit of a presence on Amazon, but that is super strange. Like I said, these big apothecary 1-wicks are going for like 34, 35 bucks. And then you do see like the 2-wick tumblers as well, but I'm not sure that those are actually being sold on there by Yankee themselves, because the price points fluctuate a lot and the availability is really quite strange. And so I don't know what's going on with all that nonsense, but I am excited to have Yankee back in Canada. It seems like now they are starting to try and give it a better try. It sounds like there has been some sort of developments and some progress made at the company that seems to be moving in a more positive direction. So yeah, I'm excited. Yankee Candle is a very nostalgic brand for me. No matter what happens to the company, I will probably always continue to purchase from them once in a while. So yeah, that's what's happening. That's what's happening in my world with Yankee Candle right now. And I think I'll leave it at that. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comment box below. You guys can follow me on Instagram at allaboutcandles and email your burning questions to allaboutcandles@gmail.com. If you could hit me up with a like, comment, subscribe to my channel, that would mean the world to me. And until next time, my dear, gorgeous, and beautiful candle-loving friends, let's burn some candles and bitch about it. Thanks, you guys. Bye for now.